What is up? Welcome to the Existential Stoic podcast. If you're a person like Randy or I, you're probably going to die, right? We all
Yep.
die. We can't help it, can't get away from it. So today we're going to talk about regrets of the dying, which is an interesting topic. Where did you come up with this one?
Well, there's a saying, the seven P's, proper planning prevents piss poor performance. And I was
Ah,
like, there's not many things that are guaranteed in life, but death is one of those certainties. So if you
it
want to
is.
approach it skillfully, you might want to prepare for it. So, there's this book called The Five Regrets of the Dying. It's by this nurse, Bronnie Ware, who she basically worked with like people who only had 3 or 6 months left to live.
Oh, I read about her before. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Very
and
interesting.
after working with like hundreds of people, she came up, these things were common themes that they talked about that was their biggest regrets. And so she wrote a book
Oh,
about it. So I figured we could go through them today, talk about them, and kind of help ourselves and also everyone listening get prepared for dying.
oh,
Because, it's crazy. It's going to happen to all of us. We never know when it's going to happen, but we all assume it's probably not going to be too soon.
yeah, it's funny too. It's like Camus and Sartre and all, they were big on saying it. Like the only thing we know with certainty is that we'll die. And the funny part is it's like most of us we want a meaning, we want a purpose, and we ask the universe, but the universe doesn't give us an answer. It doesn't tell us why we exist. We have to find it ourselves. And we think, yeah, it's funny because it's so easy to be like, oh, I have plenty of time. I don't have to worry about it. But like if you start to think about it, you can come to accept it. And also I think it helps you live your life in a way so that you don't have those regrets. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I heard this thing the other day. It was this kid talking about all money dies in the end. So he was talking about how he's known a bunch of like very wealthy people who died and had a whole bunch of money left over. So that was basically like a waste because they couldn't take the money with them.
No.
Only ancient Egyptian pharaohs could do that. They put the gold in the
Yeah.
sarcophagus with them. But
And cats
uh
and stuff.
yeah. And so he's saying that like you don't want to leave too much money over because then you just waste it. Like sure, maybe it could pass on to your family, but for the most part for you, it's completely wasted. So it's you know finding a way to spend money skillfully, but also save money skillfully and trying to find that golden mean. And I was trying like it's a difficult equation because if I knew when I was going to die, I could calculate to the penny how much I could spend every day. But
Yeah.
because I have no idea when I'll die. Could be tomorrow, could be 50, 100 years from now. And yeah.
You know what I think the problem with that too is it's like it's not about thinking like how can I maximize this so there's nothing left. But I think it's more about, like what is the balance where you're using your money to do things you really want, where it's being useful for you. It's actually, you're actually putting it to use, getting some happiness from it in a way that's also not going to bankrupt you in a day or a year so that you can kind of keep going and live the quality of life you want because I think that's really what it's about too is finding that
Yeah.
balance of like what quality of life do I want. Yeah.
Yeah. How can I not be MC Hammer?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figured
Okay. Go ahead. Yeah.
I just said I figured we start the episode by going over some Marcus Aurelius quotes on death because he talks about it all the time in his meditations and other
Constantly.
things. So, and they're timeless remarks on death. Were you
I
going to
was
say
just gonna
something else
say,
though?
I was gonna
Yeah.
say something else. So, like a
Mhm.
lot of philosophers talk about it all. The existentialists, the Stoics talk about it all the time, and I find it interesting. Like that these wise people, so many of them recognize the importance of admitting that we die. First of all, like one, like actively admitting it to yourself, but also keeping it in the like at the front of your brain, not like thinking about it all the time, but just being aware of it so that like when you do come up with decisions that you have to make, you're like, oh, right, this doesn't last forever. I should choose, right? And actually do something now. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely found it helpful in my own life. Like I always think I'm a dead man walking. So like, you know, I like I just I see that like I'm going to die. I don't know when, but I see that I'm a dead man walking. And so like I really have nothing to lose. Like oftentimes these
No.
rationalizations where we delude ourselves into thinking we have something to lose. And whenever it comes down to that stuff and I recognize, nah, I'm a dead man walking, like I literally have nothing to lose. So might as well just give it a whirl.
Yeah, it's actually like really freeing, isn't it? Because it's like, if I know this ends, but I don't think there's any point. I mean, make it what you want because this is the time you have. Only you can live
Hmm.
it, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, so what does Marcus Aurelius have to say about death? He says, and I quote, it is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I think so many people get stuck there, and I was stuck there for a long, long time
Yeah.
because I was busy living what society said I should be, what my parents said I should be, being the good little boy, and all this different stuff. And I was like terrified to actually live according to what I wanted because people would judge me and I could be wrong and all these
Dude,
different
but
things.
yeah, and so many people I think live that way though. I've actually had, I think I mentioned this to you before. I actually had a student tell me before, she was like, well, I wish my mom just decided for me what to study in school or something. She's like, because then if it's wrong, at least it's her fault. And I'm like, that's an insane thing to think. Like
Yeah,
that this
right?
is your life and you're not gonna like actively try to live it. But you're right, I think, not being aware of that is also that fear that you might never actually live on your own and take risks for your life. Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to live it to yourself. Um, the next one is do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good. I, so I like this one because I think, I mean, I'm guilty of this all the time, thinking that I have a really long life ahead of me. And it's like, you really never know. Like every moment could literally be your last. Like this morning when you woke up, it could 100% be the last time. And so like, but you
Yeah.
never know. Death hangs over you. It's going to happen sometime. And but I like what he says there. While you live, while it's in your power, he doesn't say accumulate the most money. He doesn't say
No.
be as successful as
Yeah.
possible. He doesn't say like buy all the cars and show off to all your neighbors and all this stuff. No, he says be good.
Yeah. You're not trying to win anything. You're not trying to outclass the next person or keep up with the Joneses or any of that BS. You're just trying to
Mm-hmm.
have the best life possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't we
It's
have
interesting.
leaders like this nowadays?
I don't know. And he was the leader.
Yeah, he
He,
was the richest,
he
most
must have been
popular
great.
guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I also like that he says too, don't act like you're going to live 1,000 years because like it is easy. We're not good at telling time and we're not good at thinking of the future. I know I'm not. And
Mm-hmm.
like it's easy like to think like, oh, I'm 40. I have at least another this long, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't know, dude. I mean, even if you don't die, you could still, yes, we live longer now, but you don't know what the end of your life is going to be like, what quality of life you're going to have. And I think it also speaks to not putting things off. Because I've heard so many people say that, like, oh, I'll travel when I retire, I'll do this when I, and it's like, but you don't know what situation you're gonna be in when you retire. You might not be able to walk well. You don't know. And it's like, are you really, you know, actively pursuing the life you want now rather than just putting it off thinking you have forever in this state?
Yeah. I echo that. I like that a lot because like I oftentimes think if I had 6 months left to live, what would I do
Yeah.
differently? Because if I'm not, because that's the real acid test of do you really want to do it? Because
Yeah, it is.
legitimately, none of us can prove we have more than 6 months left to live. So if there's something
No.
that you want to do and you're not doing it now, assume that it's never going to get done.
Yeah, assume that'll never happen, right? And I think that
Hmm.
kind of thinking and those sort of like thought experiments of asking yourself those questions are so effective to really get down to at bottom, like, what do I value now?
Hmm.
Because like,
Yeah.
would I be happy? I mean, that's another way to phrase that is would I be happy doing exactly what I'm doing for the next 6 months and not feel like it's a waste if I were to die at the end of that, you know?
Or at least to like try it. So like you hear all these stories of these people
Yeah.
who like want to do stuff. They wanted to write a book, they wanted to start a business, they wanted to have a family, but they just like they have all these reasons why they keep putting it off. So like just assume you have 6 months left to live and be like, okay, just as an exercise, okay, for 6 months, I'll give it a whirl. Why not? Do a little bit every
Yeah.
day. And if it
And
doesn't work out, great, but at least I tried. I can die happy knowing that I tried.
yeah, and at least you took you actually made a choice. It's like, every choice is a choice not to do something. So, if your reasons are just an excuse, that's your choice. I think that's, yeah,
Hmm.
how it works out.
Absolutely.
Nice.
So the next one, I'm just going to skip down a little bit on the list. But
Go for it. I'll let you
death's
read the ones you
death,
like.
yeah, death smiles at all of us. All we can do is smile back.
Oh, I like that. That sounds like a no fear t-shirt. You remember that? You remember that company?
Yeah, oh yeah, I remember
Doesn't
that one.
it?
I
Sounds
remember, I
like
still remember he who dies with the most toys still dies or something like that.
yeah, yeah. What was the one? I like the one that was like, I don't want to go to my grave smiling, but clawing the ground and like, or whatever. It was like being drug
Yeah,
in. Like,
yeah.
it's good.
I know those are great
Uh,
shirts. They used to make
they
really
were,
good shirts back in the day.
they
But
did. It
I,
sounds like one of their shirts. Anyway.
yeah, I think when I read that or when I hear about that, I think it's kind of like there's like an inside joke that death knows and that we can know too, that like we're all laughing about because it's just like it really is a goofy thing. Like people spend so much time and energy being afraid of death and avoiding death and all this stuff. And really, I mean, who knows? It could be the best experience of our lives.
Well, it's funny too. You're right though, because so much of like thinking about it alone dictates so much of what we do, the precautions we take, the choices we make, and it's like how much of that is really like what you actually want versus just what you're afraid of and stuff. And you're right. I mean, everything that things have to die for us to continue living. So it's
Yeah.
like clearly it's a part of the process and it's a necessary part. So, it is funny that we fear it so much because we're individual entities with consciousness, I guess. But beyond that.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So kind of going along with what you're saying there, in everything that you do, pause and ask yourself if death is a dreadful thing because it deprives you of this.
That's a nice way. I like that one.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
And
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
well, that one reminds me of another one that he has is basically, you know, a man fear I didn't see it here, but something along the lines of like people fear dying because they fear losing these experiences that already happened or these things that they imagine will be in the future. But we don't actually have that. All we ever have is this present moment. So whether
Yeah.
you die 5 years from now or 5,000 years from now, the only thing you can ever lose is this moment.
Yeah. Well, it's funny too. Studies have shown, like millions of studies, that our memory is totally false, like all the time. Like we think we remember things really well, but it's all stories we're telling ourselves about that moment. We don't remember it objectively. We don't remember what actually happened. It changes all the time as we like reinterpret our narrative. So most of your memory isn't accurate anyway, even
Mm-hmm.
things that you think you know really clearly. And we don't know what the hell is going to happen in the future. We've shown that a million times. So yeah, it is kind of funny. We really only have right now, and that
Yeah.
makes it yeah, it makes it. But we don't. It's funny because we so don't often live now. We
Yeah.
live either far into the future or way into the past and forget,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
what life is actually about.
Regretting the past or fearing the future. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's where we
Rather than
live.
just living.
Yeah.
So where I'm
So
staying.
yeah, so if you want more Marcus Aurelius, read the Meditations or listen to it. There's a free audiobook of it on YouTube. Just search Marcus Aurelius Meditations audiobook. And it's great. You can listen to it double speed, takes less than 2 hours.
Yeah, thankfully he's out of copyright. You know?
I know, right?
Couple
Well,
thousand years will
he
do that
can't
to a
he
person.
can't take the money with him anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, he already had all
Yeah.
the money. He was good.
He did have
Yeah,
all the
it's
money.
I
Yeah.
do. I love the one thing I love. If you haven't read the Meditations, you should because to look at a person that had everything and had all the power, and then to see like both that their problems are everyday problems. Like all of his concerns are super normal. Like same thing we worry about, he worried about. And he was the emperor of Rome. You think of them as like a totally different elf or type of person, right? But like he's not. And I think it's just eye opening to see how humble and like normal he was. And then his like the meditations read like the journal. I mean, it reads just like somebody trying to remind themselves to be good every day and like the
Hmm.
work it takes. I think that's the other thing too people forget is like just the work it takes to be yourself, to live a good life, to not be a crappy person. Like it takes effort. No one's just naturally good at it. And I really like the meditations reminds you of all that.
Yeah, it's a great book. And also, I mean, he was the most powerful person of his time. He was the
Yeah.
richest, the most famous. And guess what? He's dead. He's gone. Gone. And
Could you imagine though if every person that was like in that state of power and like in these companies and corporations acted like him, was that type of person, that
Well,
quality,
we
the
don't
world would
live
be
in we
so
don't live in a
different.
world of ethics and morality anymore. We live in a
No,
world of money, and they're
yeah,
completely different things.
they are.
Yeah.
I know. It's crazy. It really is.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. But I mean, despite it, he had everything that everybody always wished for. Everybody that always
Yeah,
says, when I get this, then I'll be happy. He had that. And guess what? He's dead. He's gone.
yeah.
Gone. Yeah.
Gone. Totally
So
gone.
that brings us, since it happened to him and he had everything, then it's likely going to happen to us as well. We're
It
going to talk
is.
about the 5 regrets of the dying. And like I said, I think that this is important because we can look at these regrets and figure how can we prepare to not have these regrets when we die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll read the first one if you want,
Oh,
and then we go
right.
back and
Yeah.
forth. Yeah,
All
yeah. I'll
right. That
help out.
sounds good.
All right. The first one is I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. You know what's funny? This one I think is a super important because the expectations we feel placed on us by society, others, the world, whatever, are so overwhelming in terms of the direction that can have on our lives. And I also think it's something that we feel so much pressure when we're young, but I think as we age, that pressure goes away a little bit. And if you're lucky, you start to be able to just kind of break away from it entirely. But it's something I think, we all struggle with at first. And the sooner you realize it, the better. That this doesn't have to be what dictates your life, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely think that people are starting to discover more nowadays that they can live life true themselves. But like
Yeah.
it's funny because you hear these kids in like kindergarten, you ask them what they want to do when they grow up, and they're like, I want to be a president, I want to be
Yeah.
an astronaut, I want to be a pilot. And it's like, and then they get to like high school and they're like, what do you want to do? I don't know. Like,
Yeah.
like all the creativity and joy is just beaten out of them by the time they get 12 grades in. Everybody's told them they can't amount to anything because they're too bored to
Yeah.
actually pay attention in geometry or whatever it is. So, yeah. But I think this is an important one because uh there are a lot of expectations from others, but also it's not easy to find the life that's true to yourself.
No.
Like I think like you mentioned, the older you get, the easier it gets. Probably because you've experienced a lot more. Like I know for me personally, when I was young, I had no idea on earth what I wanted to
No.
do. Like none
Yeah.
whatsoever. And I was so jealous, like green with envy of these kids who knew what they wanted to do. Like they were an artist and they were good at it and they knew that's what they wanted to do. Or like they were a semi-pro mountain biker and they were good at it and they knew that's what they wanted to do. And like I was so envious of
Yeah.
them because I had no idea. But like it took 40 years of just trying a whole bunch of stuff and being terrible at most of it, being good at some of it, and then finding
Yeah.
out what I actually enjoy.
Well, I think that's the idea of having the courage too. That's the other side of it, which is not being afraid to take chances, to try things, to fail, to find what you really want. And I think it is hard. Or not being or having the courage to listen to yourself actually. Because I think that's a big part of it too, is like actually having self-awareness and listening to yourself. Had I done that earlier, I might have done something totally different. I might have done
Mm.
what I'm doing now earlier. Right?
Yeah. I laugh all the time because I look back now and I'm like, wow, there are all these signals in my life that were telling me to do exactly what I'm doing
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and yet I just didn't listen to them.
No, because you had all these other talking heads around you, right? Telling you stuff. And I think that's what makes it so hard is we're
Mhm.
surrounded by people who think they know. I don't even think it's all ill-intentioned. It's just people
Mhm.
that think they know how the world is, but the world's different from when they were younger. The world, it's like all these things are in place that make it different, or it's things they wanted and they're putting it on you.
Oh
It is
yeah,
what it is. Yeah,
definitely.
it's tough.
Yeah. So that brings us to number two. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. This one's actually quite interesting because
Yes.
I enjoy working a lot, but I can also see where people come from, especially like the 9 to 5ers, the 40-hour a weekers who hate their job. I can totally see a lot of them saying, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Uh,
Yeah.
I think that this one, I mean, what do you think about it? And then I'll tell you what I think
I was
about
gonna say I think it's interesting because I think this is I like working a lot, but doing certain things. Like I don't like it. I don't like it universally. I don't like it doing certain types of jobs that I've had to do in the past. So I can see where it's coming from because I think working to live is not healthy. And you should have things that you want to do and have time set aside for it and do other stuff. Otherwise, you're not really living life. You're kind of living a very narrow existence. Or,
Mm-hmm.
recognize that if you're gonna, also understand too that like when you're putting a lot in to start something or you're working something, trying to build something, like you better really want it, or that time you're investing in it is gonna conflict with other things that you're not going to be able to do, and that's gonna, cause regrets later. So I think this is
Yeah.
about knowing really who you are, what you enjoy, and what you want at the time.
Well, it's like all work and no play makes Johnny a dull boy. So like you need to have
Yes.
other stuff too. Life just isn't about work. And like but sometimes it needs to be work. Like sometimes you need to just work your butt off so that you can dig yourself out of a
Yeah.
hole you've dug yourself, you know? So like
Yeah.
sometimes you need
Yeah.
to do it, but then once you're done that, it doesn't need to be work. And actually I think this one kind of uh aligns with the first one. I had the courage to live a life true to myself because once you find that work that's true to yourself, you'll do it anyways. Like you don't care.
Yeah. You will. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think that's what it is. I think this is more about knowing yourself than it is. Like, I don't think you need a work ethic for sure, because anything you want to do, you need to be able to do the work to do it. But I think it's
Mhm.
about knowing yourself and not expending that. Because a lot of people, I think, just get jobs to survive or to provide for their family. And then they get caught up in that. And it's like that can be, yeah, that can be
Oh,
very
dude, it's
regretful at
terrible.
the end,
It's like these people they get a job that's far from their home, so they get a car on a car payment, and then they have to pay for
Yeah.
gas. So then all they're doing is they're working to pay the car payment and gas, and it's just like
Yeah.
get something
Yeah.
closer to
It's
your house,
terrible.
save the money.
All right.
Yeah.
The next one is I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. You know, this one is important. This is something I'm not good at. Uh, I was never very good
Welcome,
at it.
welcome to the world of being a man.
I know, right? Like totally, it's true though, right? It is. It's very
Yeah.
hard. And like I think it's something I've been trying to get better at over time. And I
Hmm.
think there is a balance between like at least for me, I've always felt like, it's finding that balance between like expressing your feelings but not whining, or not being dramatic
Mm.
or not, because I think there is a difference between like I also think this is also, had the courage to express my feelings. It's also just a reminder too to be like open to our feelings, to understand them, to recognize them, acknowledge them, not even just to like, not necessarily to always express them, but just to like be aware that they're there and the role they play too is also important.
Yeah, I was just listening to the five love languages, and he was talking about how to recognize your feelings in there, and what he recommended was keep a journal with you and like three times a day, just pull it out and be like, what am I feeling right now for the past few hours? You know? So it's like, oh, I was, being tailgated by that guy, I was angry. And then there was that other thing, and
Yeah,
I was upset. And so just like
frustrated,
learning
right?
to
Yeah,
recognize your feelings. I feel that I'm getting better at recognizing my feelings. Like I definitely know when anger comes up now.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the one that like that's my feeling right now that I definitely recognize quite often. But it's I guess I don't really express them that often.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. It's funny too, though. Like, I mean, come on. You grow up in a society where they tell you like if something sad happens, don't cry, don't respond, and it's hard
Hmm.
because you train yourself not to. And I think there is part of that that does carry with you forever. It's very hard to kind of correct. But I think there's the thing, it's like so much of it is just correcting the crap that we're taught when we're young and conditioned to be like, and it's just breaking all those things to
Hmm.
get to like a better life.
Yeah. Well, also like what's the benefit of expressing our feelings?
Well,
Like,
see, this
okay,
is what
so
okay.
this is the reason I ask it. So I have these situations where I get angry and I don't express my feelings. I almost like close down, which granted probably isn't a great reaction to it. But what would be the benefit of expressing anger at that moment?
Let me counter this with I don't think it's about expressing it in that sense, though. I think it's about identifying and utilizing that energy to healthily express it or work through it. So, in other words, like if somebody dies, you don't want your grief to totally derail your whole life, right? You still have life to live. You're still alive, so you want to be able to grieve healthily in some way, right? Grieve
Mm,
healthily and in an appropriate way and get through it. So, your anger, for instance, right? If you keep blowing up with anger and you keep just pushing it down, that's not healthy either. Nor is it healthy to just blow up and just act out on it every time because it's not going to work socially. There's so many other issues. So I think it's more like finding a way to express it that works. Whether
Mm.
it's like, I think that's why they do this like study, like punching a pillow and stuff, like getting that pent up energy out so that you don't feel it anymore in the same way or you experience it differently. At least that's my
Mm.
take. I don't know if that's right,
Yeah,
but
that's a good one. That's a good one. All right, so that was yours.
yeah.
This one, I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. An important one,
Yeah, it is.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. For all of you listeners out there, Danny and I actually nursed on the teat together.
Yeah,
That's how
we
long we've
did.
stayed together.
Yeah. Knew each
Of
other
course, that was
forever.
only a year ago, but
Yeah. Yeah. I was a
I'm
late
kidding.
bloomer. But no, I think this one's tough for a lot of people because I think, people feel like life changes, things happen, and it's easy to lose track. It's hard to like stay up to date or even know who's truly your friend. It's easy, I think, that was one thing that I was always grateful for is I've had friends that were really good friends that I've stayed in touch with. And like, I think it is important because it's like, it helps you just find to still find things that make you happy and do things that are just for fun and all, and just have people that are always on your side, which is hugely important.
Yeah. And I think also this isn't only like staying in touch with friends from long ago, but it's also like
No,
in a
just in
modern
general.
sense, we have all these distractions nowadays. Like everybody thinks they're staying in touch by looking at Facebook and Instagram and all this different stuff, but really you're not. You're deluding yourself.
Yeah.
Actually, like having a conversation with somebody, that's how
Dude,
you stay in touch. Yeah.
going out for drinks or dinner and not having your goddamn phone out, like, and actually interacting with the people right in front of you. That's also
Right?
important. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think like as technology develops, dude, with the metaverse coming online, like actually being a thing now and all, I think like it's more important than ever. They've actually shown too that like a lot of young kids, like even though they have all this access to information, people, social media and stuff, they're actually worse at interperson interactions
Yeah.
because they don't have the skill set. It's
Yeah.
different when you're talking to a real person than it is through a screen and text. It really is. So yeah,
It's freaking nuts.
that's
Yeah,
an
but
important one.
it adds so much to life. Like I can tell this from experience. Just being able to talk with Danny every week
Yeah,
makes a huge difference because here's like someone who cares for my well-being. I care for his well-being, and we
yeah,
can discuss what's going on in life, our problems, and like even like deeply intimate problems
yeah,
that we're ashamed of. We can just express them openly and get
yeah.
and sometimes it's not even what Danny says, it's just having someone there to listen to me. You
Oh
know?
yeah, dude. And it's like it's funny too because I think like, oh yeah, it's like I wish we started doing this like earlier, like in high school, honestly, because
Yeah,
like it's
right?
like so yeah, it's like it's been so helpful and so awesome. And it's like, I hope everybody has somebody like that in their lives because it is important. Like being able to have no filter for a time and being able to just kind of say whatever you want it's invaluable. And it's hard to find people that don't judge you for that or that like aren't going to take it the wrong way or something. Yeah, I think
Hmm.
it's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last one is I wish that I had let myself be happier. I think this is really interesting because like there's so many times where like, whether it's anxiety, depression, or just like stress and work, where like I feel like I have actively been working against my own happiness. You know what I mean? And like I think it is like literally it's just letting yourself be happy. Like I think naturally we all kind of want to be happy. None of us wants to be miserable. None of us wants to be stressed out. But like we get caught up in it and we get so caught up in our own little BS and our own little world and the importance of ourselves that we don't let ourselves just be happy because letting ourselves be happy also means breaking down some of that importance and breaking down some of that like delusional sense of self and all. And I think it's just
Hmm.
funny because it is about letting yourself be happy. I think we can all be happy. It's not impossible.
Absolutely. Yeah, we train ourselves from a very young age to not be happy, to postpone our happiness because we
Or to
have these
find
things that
things
we
wrong,
want. Yeah,
everything.
oh dude, totally. You're looking at like the best like human spell checker. I mean, I find everything that's wrong. But it's like
Yeah,
we train ourselves from a young age to just postpone our happiness. We have these things that we want, and we think, oh, well, once I get that, then I'll be happy. Once I get
yeah.
that, then I'll be happy. Once I have this, then I'll be happy. And it's just like, maybe, but why don't you just be happy now while you're getting it?
Yeah.
You know?
Dude, oh my God, I meant to tell you this is on a side, but I was talking about it in my class the other day, the last day that we had class together. And they all said the same thing. They were like, "Oh, but you need money to be happy." And all. And I was like, "Dude, I talk about this with my friend all the time. Like, this is like the classical error we make. We're always future looking, thinking that the happiness is the next stop on the next goal. It's the next thing." I was like, "But lo and behold, you're not going to be happy because you haven't let yourself be happy. So even
Hmm.
when you get that thing, it's not like happiness magically comes. You have to figure out all the other stuff first."
Yeah,
You know?
and I've met so many people who have a ton of money, and all of them, they're not happy because somebody has more money than them. They're afraid of
Yeah.
losing their money.
Yeah.
You know, like all these different things. They're not any more happy. Actually, I still remember uh there was a guy who I learned to do search engine optimization from SEO a number of years ago, and he was probably the first person who I met who was a multimillionaire. He was worth, I think, like
Oh,
10 million at the time. And
that's nice.
just by chance, I ran into him on the streets in Dallas, Texas. And I was like, dude, what's it like to be a millionaire? And he's like, the same it felt like to be broke. And I'm like, well, that's worthless.
Yeah, yeah, well, it's like you expect this big epiphany, right? This big, like, oh, it's so dramatically different and better, but it's like really it's the same because you're gonna feel the exact same.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Whoever you were before, you'll just be that person afterwards. You'll just be amplified, you know?
yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's like I think the guy I mentioned before, Dan Price, who did the base salary of 70,000 for his employees.
Hmm.
Like before he did that, he had $1 million salary. He was the CEO of the company and all, and he talks about at different points like how unfulfilled that was. But when he started to focus on his employees and their happiness and well-being and trying to make sure that like he saw the moral connection between running the business and his employees, like feel so much better because it's like, you're using it's not just empty. It's not just you
Yeah.
racing by yourself, right, against everyone else. It's you recognize that everyone's together working together for it.
And he's adding value to the life of
Yeah.
that many people as opposed to
To the whole
just
community,
himself. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a great
it's
thing.
infinitely better. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's
Nice.
also like I like also how it says I wish I let myself be happier. And you were talking on this earlier, how it is kind of a choice. Like Abe Lincoln says most men are about as happy as they make their minds up to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just it really is a choice. And I hear a lot of you because I used to say the same thing who are like, it's not a choice because I'm miserable and I don't want
Yeah.
to be miserable. Like,
Or the world's like this, or
mhm,
yeah.
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 Yeah, I've been there. I've been there. But and it's so much easier when you're on the other side and you're actually happy
It
to
is.
say that
I feel like
it's
it's
a
a choice.
choice. Yeah, when you're happy, it's a choice. When you're miserable, it's like life sucks. But it may be worth investigating like why do you want to change the feeling that you have right now? Like if you're feeling miserable, well, maybe you're supposed to feel that right now. You know, like why bother changing it? Maybe that misery is leading you to find out some lessons about where you are right now. Maybe that's not where you want to be. Like for instance, and this is just my example, it's an N of one, so maybe it's not true for everybody, but the times in my life when I was the most miserable were times right before a giant course correction in my life. Like
Yeah.
when I was
Yeah.
really really depressed, it was before I needed to make some very serious changes in my life. Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that up though, because I think that is about letting yourself be happy. It's also deeply experiencing the lows to understand what needs to be changed. Because like I had my same experience, dude. The worst time in my life arguably was also the most important for course correcting, for actually doubling down on what I really wanted to do, starting that process, getting that ball rolling, taking care of my mental health and everything. Like literally all of it, I think, required a deep experience of that low in order to recognize, hey, this is fundamentally not what I want. And to let myself be happy, I have to start letting myself make the right choices too, that are for me rather than for others or for the world or whatever, And I think that's important too. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a good one.
Yeah, so that's the five regrets of dying in a
Five
nutshell.
regrets of
You have
dying.
them all
So
right there.
hopefully now you at least are aware of them and we gave you some advice, you maybe not regret when you
Yeah.
die.
Yeah, I think it's an important exercise to sit down because I sometimes do this every once in a while when I'm journaling in the morning. I'm like, if I were to die today, would I have anything that I would regret, either doing or not doing?
Yeah.
Because I think that's important. So then at least it brings it into your awareness. And then if you want to, you can actually change it. Because like we mentioned earlier, we never know how long we're going to be around for. So you might as well clean up your stuff now.
Yeah, that's an important one too, because I've done that. I've done that. I actually do that kind of regularly, like sort of fairly regularly, and it's helpful
Mm,
because it really helps me assess like the course I'm on. Like, is this still the right path? It also helps me recognize like when, hey, I'm not spending enough time with the people I really love and stuff, and like I need to do that more because I do miss them. And I'm like, when I take a moment to think about it, I realize that I am. Like, and I think it's a really helpful exercise. Yeah, so that you don't end up
mhm,
regretting later. Because if you fix it now, you won't regret it later. That's the other beautiful thing, you
mhm.
know?
Yeah. I think, I mean, from looking at this list, I think a lot of this comes from just like getting caught in the rat race of life and
Oh
never
yeah,
really having the time to like pick your head up and look around, gain some
breathe.
perspective. Yeah, breathe. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, starting to give yourself that time where you can do that. And I understand if you have multiple jobs, it's very, very hard, but like there's got to be some time while you're sitting in the car before work starts or something. Like I remember when I was working, there were some day there was I worked 31 days in a row. And there was one of those days in the middle where I worked 24 hours straight. This was when I was doing like the emergency vet work.
Yeah.
And I remember there were still moments like I remember sitting very clearly sitting in my car before going into uh the hospital to work, but that was like my time. And I use that
Yeah.
time to like collect myself and to do the stuff. So like finding those small moments because you don't need 3 years on a mountaintop to do it. You
No,
just need 5 minutes every day.
you need small moments. Yeah. And I think you're right, though. We get so caught up in the rat race, get so caught up in the everyday stresses. And instead of using the small moments you have, what we do is we distract ourselves. We listen to stuff, we watch things, we scroll social media to forget about our day because we're stressed out. But that doesn't actually rejuvenate you. It doesn't help you solve problems. It just keeps you in that race, running and on that wheel without ever getting a chance to look outside and see, hey, is this where I want to be? Is this where I want my boat to go or whatever, however you want to, whatever analogy or metaphor you use. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. Do you want to add anything else?
No, I think that's good. I think we're all going to die, and now we're
We are all
prepared.
definitely going to die. And now we're prepared for it. We won't have regrets. So
Wouldn't that be
that is the
funny if
final.
there's somebody who's listening who's like, guess what? I'm not. And they were right.
I'm never happened.
Good old Tuck Everlasting. Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Stay young forever. But so yeah, so if you guys stayed with us, hopefully this helps. Check us out later this week for a quick fix. Like, subscribe, share. It helps us out a lot. We'll be back then, no later, whatever. Anyway, until then, later, Andy.
Later, Danny.
Uh,